You have heard the regret stories, the retirees who went home, the savings that disappeared, the relationships that collapsed, the people who felt trapped. But there is another group. They do not make dramatic videos. They are not shouting online. They are not angry. They are just still here. 5 years later, 10 years later, living quietly, calm, stable, content. This video is about them, not the loud failures, not the fantasy sellers, the steady ones. Because the difference between regret and peace is not luck. It is preparation, pace, and mindset. And the habits they built in the beginning shaped everything that came after. The expats who thrived did one thing most regretful retirees did not. They did not sell everything back home. They kept a base. They kept options. They kept emotional security. Knowing they could return if needed made them calmer. Calmer people make better decisions. People who sold everything often felt pressure to force success. And pressure leads to bad choices. The successful expats never treated the move as escape. They treated it as expansion. The Philippines was added to their life. It did not replace their entire identity. That small difference changed everything. The thriving group did not rush into permanent decisions. They rented, often for 1 to 2 years. They watched how the area felt in rainy season. They learned which roads flooded. They learned where the hospitals were. They learned how the power behaved. Most regrets come from fast emotional decisions. The successful expats replaced excitement with observation. They lived first, decided later, of time became their protection. They did not plan to live cheaply. They planned to live comfortably without stress. They assumed prices would rise. They assumed they would want air conditioning. They assumed medical costs would happen. Their budgets had breathing room. They did not design their life around survival. They designed it around stability. A stable budget means fewer emotional decisions. Fewer emotional decisions means fewer mistakes. They did not choose only beauty. They chose logistics. How far is the nearest major hospital? How long does it take in traffic? Are there specialists nearby? They planned for their older future self, not their adventurous present self. That decision alone removed fear from aging. Peace often comes from knowing help is close. They were kind, but clear. They understood family culture. They helped when they could, but they set limits early. They did not promise beyond their means. They did not try to impress. They did not use money to buy acceptance. Boundaries protect relationships. Without them, resentment grows quietly. The thriving expats chose clarity over temporary approval. They did not treat life as permanent vacation. They created structure, morning walks, market visits, gym time, coffee with friends, language practice. Routine gives life rhythm. Without rhythm, time becomes heavy. The thriving expats built small purposes, and small purposes create large stability. They did not fight the system daily. They accepted slower processes. They accepted indirect communication. They accepted that not everything works like home. They kept their core values, but adjusted expectations. This removed constant frustration. Frustration is more exhausting than heat or traffic. Mental flexibility became their advantage. They did not live at the top of their budget. They lived slightly below. This created cushion. Cushion creates confidence. Confidence creates patience. Patience creates better decisions. And better decisions create long-term peace. They found balance. They respected culture, learned basics, built friendships. But they did not erase who they were. They accepted being a guest. Guests who respect the house are welcomed. Guests who try to control the house are not. This mindset allowed them to belong without forcing it. Not because they planned to leave, because it removed fear. Emergency fund outside the country. Valid passport. Awareness of options. Security allows people to stay by choice, not by necessity, and living by choice feels very different. The Philippines does not reward fantasy. It rewards preparation. The expats who stayed peaceful did not get lucky. They moved slower, planned deeper, expected less perfection, and because of that, they found peace. Not perfect peace, but real peace, the kind built quietly over time. If there is one thing to take away from this video, it is this. The Philippines does not guarantee regret, and it does not guarantee happiness either. It reflects who you are when you arrive. The expats who struggle often hope the move would solve something. Loneliness, stress, financial pressure, a feeling of being stuck. But geography does not fix inner instability. It only changes the scenery around it. The expats who built stable lives did something different. They did not arrive trying to escape a life. They arrived trying to build one, slowly, patiently, without pressure to prove anything. They accepted that paradise is not perfect, that systems are slower, that culture is different, that life here has friction just like anywhere else. But instead of fighting reality, they adjusted to it. They did not need every day to feel amazing. They only needed life to feel steady, and steady is enough. If you are thinking about retiring here, the goal is not to avoid every mistake. That is impossible. The goal is to avoid the mistakes that remove your peace. Move slower than your excitement. Spend less than your ego wants. Plan more than you think you need. And build routine before you build fantasy. When you do that, the Philippines can become a place of quiet contentment. Not because it is magical, but because you are prepared. And in the next video, we will look at something that often surprises people: the small daily habits that protect expats from financial decline over time. The quiet leaks that most people never see until it is too late. Because long-term stability is not built on big decisions alone. It is built on daily patterns. This is PH Life Unfiltered. Thank you for spending this time with me. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and choose with clarity, not fantasy. I will see you in the next one.